How's it going, everybody? Still here in Barcelona, and it kind of feels like I'm stuck, sort of, because there's an event Sunday, there's the Declaration of Independence is apparently, the reporting, going to be on Monday, and so that means for the time being, I'm just trying to spend as little as possible to stay here, because it is expensive to stay in an international city, hotels, etc. You can tell I'm in this nice little quaint hostel. It looks smaller than it is. This camera makes it look a lot smaller. It's actually got 6 beds in it, okay? There's a lot of people who sleep in here. But I'm sharing it with a few other people that I'm working with, so it's not so bad. I wanted to, look, there's been a lot of discussions, and I think we've reached a point where I feel like I can jokingly say everybody is asking for a dictatorship, okay? Jokingly. Jimmy Kimmel did his speech, rant, whatever you want to call it. And there's been a lot of criticism about these left-wing, comedians, these white dudes on TV who all have the same opinion, who all back the same politicians and agree on the same issues. And then, look, honestly, when you look at what Jimmy Kimmel says, and it's rife with error, his statement, it really was rife with error, then you just have to wonder if this is where people are getting their information from. The left is not unique in this problem, okay? When we have terror issues, then, Donald Trump, his quote was something like, Donald Trump is calling for the complete and total shutdown of Muslims entering the country, and we see a lot of people supporting that. When gun issues happen, when someone commits a mass shooting, we see the left also further supporting government. It seems like the only solution that the left and the right can come up with when it comes to the issues they care about is more government, which is strange, especially when you consider that a lot of people on the right claim to be fighting for smaller government. It's also strange when you have the left, which is talking about how the current administration is evil and wrong, how police are racist, but then they're calling for the government, literally they want the racist police force to enforce gun laws. This is what I just don't understand. You want to know why I don't align left or right is because I'm sitting here trying to understand what is right and what is wrong. And when the left says we need gun control and gun restriction, but then someone like Jimmy Kimmel doesn't know the difference between automatic and semi-automatic, I'm like, okay, well, I can't take that opinion seriously if you don't know that semi-automatic means when you pull the trigger, it fires a bullet and then chambers around, okay? So people on the left, a lot of them, not everybody, I don't think everybody's, uninformed, but a lot of people on the left seem to think that semi-automatic means you pull a trigger and it fires a burst shot or something. They don't seem to understand that that's not the case. They conflate the two. But I digress. I just don't seem to understand how when you have the people on the left say that they believe in more taxes, they believe in taxing the rich, they believe in capital gains tax, they want to expand government programs, and then when they go out and protest, the police and the protesters clash, and the protesters complain about the police being militarized. Okay, so I would think it's fair to say that you don't want more government programs, you want to reallocate taxes away from these areas. And I'll be honest, there are people on the left and the right who understand the nuance and really get at the core issues, right? There are people on the right who say, no, we don't want government bans on specific groups of people, and we don't want expanded government, but we do want to figure out how to address these problems. And you have people on the left saying, no, we don't want to outright ban guns, but we do want to have smart legislation that can make it maybe a little bit harder, take a little bit longer to access certain weapons. The problem here is that, ultimately, I feel like when it comes to issues the right is angry about, immigration, when it comes to issues the left is angry about, gun control, for instance, the answer is more government control. So, where does this lead us? Okay, we've got at least to some degree, a partially militarized police force already. We have police who wear armor, who have rifles. When you go to Grand Central Station in New York, you can see officers in armor holding rifles. We're coming to a point where we're starting to accept this as normal, but not only that, we're actually seeing people call for this. So let's go back and think about something that I was just saying. If the current administration is bad, if Donald Trump is racist, then we can certainly entertain the idea that there will be other presidents in the future who may be racist too. If the police force supports white privilege or patriarchy or whatever issue you're thinking about, If the police are racist towards black lives, then we need to recognize that there are government institutions that are powerful. The left chants, cops and Klan go hand in hand. So why would you then want to empower those people that you feel are aligned with the Ku Klux Klan to take guns away from law-abiding citizens? I understand we in America have a problem with homicide and gun crime. I'm from Chicago. I do believe that we need to come up with solutions for how we deal with violence and gun crime. It is true that someone with access to even a semi-automatic rifle can kill people very, very quickly. I'm not gonna, come in here and debate whether or not the founding fathers thought we should have repeaters or full auto or semi-auto or whatever. There are background checks. There are, systems of permitting, and it is difficult in many ways to get guns. But it's a complicated issue. And I do believe that we can do more to come together and say, is there a way we can do better? A lot of people, Jimmy Kimmel, right? He's the target of this diatribe, I suppose. They don't know what they're talking about. And they say things like common sense gun control. Right, but what does it mean when you're talking about common sense gun control if you don't actually know what a semi-automatic gun is? How can it be common sense if the average person doesn't even know or understand how a gun works? I think we can do more for gun control. Yes, I do. Surprise, surprise, I'm in the middle on this issue. I think too often we see people on the right call for government restrictions, bans on certain practices or certain issues of immigration, travel ban, for instance, and then, a lot of people will poo-poo the idea of gun control. There is a joke going around about banning cars, right? We've seen terrorists use cars, and there's this clever response of maybe we should require people who buy guns to get licensed for it, to go and take a training, program or an exam where they can prove they know how to fire, and they have to have liability insurance for that gun. I don't know if that's the right or wrong answer, but I certainly think these things are worth considering. Can we come up with a way to make sure people are legally allowed to own guns, but there's a system of examination and insurance? You are responsible for making sure the gun is not used in a way that causes harm to others. And we can feel a little bit safer knowing that you've taken some kind of course or training program to be certified to own that gun. I could be wrong. I know a lot of people are going to be gun enthusiasts and want to talk about it. But I think the main point that I want to get at is I'm kind of ranting here, and I apologize for this. But I feel like if the left keeps calling for expansion of government programs or just outright taxing the rich or just taxing people in general, then we don't know where those taxes are going to get allocated to. And if the right calls for travel bans and these kinds of actions get justified, that's further government expansion. The solution to every problem isn't always more laws. Sometimes we have to realize that more legislation and more laws actually complicate things. This all feels kind of pointless, I guess, because I'm not someone who has all the answers. What I can say is I sit back and I look at acts of terrorism, I look at acts of violence, and when these protests happen, people say we need the police to come out and deal with this. When the shootings happens, we see the left saying the government needs to enforce gun control. What do you think the logical conclusion will be? We will end up in a world where protests are heavily restricted, and often they already are. Free speech zones, police showing up in riot gear to small events. Yes, there certainly are instances where groups like Antifa get really, really violent, and we do need police out on the street. But it just seems like with the political violence escalating, with the mass shootings and terrorism seemingly escalating, it appears to be, it doesn't mean it is, there's more and more calls for law and order. And it looks like the future is going to be cops on the street, government restrictions, freedom of speech becoming hate speech. It's not just the left, it's not just the right. Both groups are adding their grains of sand to the heap. Right now, I'm in Catalonia, and there's something really interesting about what's happening here with independence versus what's happening in the United States. Everything seems to be backwards here. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like it's kind of inverted. Anti-fascists marching out at Universitat, the university in Barcelona, for the big independence protest. Non-violent. Waved their flag a little bit, wrapped it up, and then stopped. The nationalists, I actually filmed them, this small group, actually attacking somebody. And I'm like, that's interestingly different from what we see in the US. Yes, we've seen people on the right and the left get violent, but it's usually Antifa that shows up to someone else's rally and starts a fight. In this instance, the nationalists showed up to the independence rally and started a fight. And so I'm like, wow. And you know what else? Totally unrelated, but still funny. Firefighters here are called bombers. Yeah, I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's like bombers, but it's spelled bombers. When I see people here tell me that they don't believe in violence no matter what, and the police are coming out and attacking them, but they refuse to get violent, they'll stop violence and vandalism, I wonder why can't we do the same thing in the United States? There have been some attacks in Europe where the response has been, we need to realize that these things happen and we'll do our best to prevent them, but the last thing we want is encroaching government powers. I don't know what the answers are. I certainly don't. And this is just... You know, I shot this really great video today that was an adventure through Barcelona, and then I ended up watching a ton of videos about Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm just like, dude, seriously, stop. Everybody, please stop. Stop calling for more government, more authoritarianism, more force, more law enforcement. Sometimes it's the answer, I'll admit, absolutely. There's a need for law enforcement. But if everyone on both sides takes their key issue and says, law enforcement, the left saying, law enforcement, enforce the guns, the right saying, law enforcement, enforce the protests, then there's no protests, and there's no private use, there's no private ownership of guns, and then it's just a slow roll into tyranny. I don't think we're going to, you know what, let me just quote Star Wars. Let me paraphrase Star Wars. This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. With everyone cheering for gun control, with everyone cheering for the law enforcement of protests, there's going to come a time where we don't recognize our country, where we don't recognize Western democracy, like what we're seeing in Catalonia, for instance. And then we just say, yes, but at least the police are enforcing the law. So let me know what you think. I apologize for this rant. It's just watching these videos, experiencing these things on the ground, and then hearing people just say, we need more authority. I just kind of think, like, if we keep talking about that, we're not going to end up anywhere good. So comment below, we'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TimCast. If you like the video, click the like button and share it, because that really, really helps. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to support my work, go to timcast.com/donate. Give whatever you'd like or give nothing at all. My videos are always free and available every day at 4 p.m. And stay tuned, because Sunday is a big event in Catalonia, possibly another big trend, right? We saw these worldwide trends for Catalonia before, and who knows, but Monday, the Declaration of Independence. So we're being told. We will see what happens. But that is about as far as I'm going to go staying here. If by Monday we do not see a declaration, then I'm going to head out and maybe go cover some other stories. So comment below if you have any ideas. Send me tips. Email me tim@tagg.ly with any story ideas that you want to see or any thoughts at all. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll see you tomorrow at 4.